Hi friends, it has been a minute. I was in Brazil for most of May, so I took a little break from recording and I saw lots of really cool animals, including some monkeys and parrots and lizards of various sizes, including a couple of iguanas. And at one point I was swimming in a river, so it was quite deep, right? I swam in a few rivers, it was very pretty. It was quite deep and I jumped in, and I'm not the best swimmer, so it took me a second to reorient myself. And I'm coming up, and then Amanda's like, hey, come here, and she pulls me over, and as I'm turning around like this, there was a snake swimming straight at me. It would have gone straight into my face, and it was like this. It was really, it looked really silly, I guess. I've never seen a snake swimming before. I've definitely never had a snake swim straight at my face before, but I didn't notice until I was out of the way. Otherwise, I guess I would have been a lot more scared. So it's like this, and it's like up from here, up out of the water like this, and then its tail's like this. Maybe you guys have already seen a snake swimming, but I hadn't. And then it just looked really silly, and I thought in my brain that it was pink and white, but the Brazilians said that wasn't a thing. So there's a really good possibility that I just saw it being a bit derpy and imprinted a cartoon on it. So who knows if I even saw what I thought I saw, but that was pretty exciting. So I thought I'd tell you about it. Unfortunately, I was not holding the GoPro at the time. I think I'd just put it away before I jumped back into the river. Otherwise, I would share a video with you of the snake and we could all try and work out together what color it was. But anyways, it wasn't an anaconda. I know that much for sure. Anyways, so welcome back. This is episode 25, I think, and today we're going to talk about hybrid training. This isn't going to be a super long one. I feel like the move towards hybrid training was the logical next step for an elder millennial with ADHD like myself. I've been weightlifting, Olympic weightlifting, for probably 4 years now, alongside flexibility training and the inclusion of various random old school odd lifts, right? And part of my push to be better at weightlifting, it led me to take up plyometrics and sprint training. And this is twofold. On the one hand, sprinting and jumping equals power. And that's exactly what you need to be better at weightlifting. More power, more better. On the other hand, I am a hypermobile person who historically has got injured walking wrong or taken out by a slightly uneven paving stone. I'm not built for power, but I wanted joints that could do it anyway. Now, 4 years on, I'm still not very bouncy or very powerful, but I am much better at weightlifting than I was, and also better at jumping. I've got loads more confidence in my knees and my ankles than I've had probably since I was a kid. Huge win, would recommend. Now, part of what led me to running was just how quickly I'd guess out doing the sprints or doing the conditioning sessions or hiking steep climbs with the dog. I wanted to be fitter so life would be a little bit easier. And I wanted to run so that my ankles would continue to get stronger and more resilient. I also wanted to work on my fitness because research shows that cardiovascular fitness is a key predictor for longevity, with higher fitness levels correlating with lower all-cause CVD and cancer mortality. Research also suggests that being fitter does more for your long-term health and longevity than just doing the power sports does. But it's not a case of just swapping lifting for running, because we also know that strength and power are the biggest factors contributing to healthy bones and muscles as you age. And I don't know about you, but I don't particularly want to end up with osteoporosis if I can help it. So lifting has to stay in the rotation for the rest of my life. So over the last year, I've been working out how to do all three things: weightlifting, splits training, running. And I had such low expectations of any progress as I continued to train these three apparently opposing elements. And yet, I added a few kilos to my snatch and my clean and jerk. I also maintained my double bodyweight deadlift and PB'd a decade-old 10K race time, as well as my 1K time and my 1 mile time. My front and middle splits both improved, whilst adding about 8 kilos, I think, to my back squat and about 6 kilos to my front squat. So even though everyone says less so now, I think, but a lot of people historically have always gone on about the interference effect, right? Like if you start running, it's going to kill your gains, or if you start lifting, you're going to get too heavy to run, etc. These things being sold to you as like two very opposite things, and you can't possibly do both things. And then obviously flexibility training, no one even really wants to do that unless you're a performer of some kind most of the time. How are you doing all of the things? Is it possible? That was what I set out to find out. Is it possible to do all three of the things? And how do I figure out how to manage that in a way that allows me to still get better at all of the things? So I'm going to share with you what I've learned over the last year in this video, because I managed to do all of it without any joint injuries. There were a couple of hamstring and calf injuries, but these were really a lot easier to manage, and they didn't stop me from doing too much, which obviously a relief. So obviously I'm not an expert in hybrid training by any means, and you probably all know by now that I'm not particularly strong or particularly fast compared to most athletes, but I'm just a regular person, like probably most of you are, just a regular person in their late 30s with a history of joints that don't really work very well, but I'm doing all the things and I feel like I'm doing a pretty good job. And this is what I did, me personally. Your journey might look a little bit different to my journey, but let me tell you. So phase 1, I started by reducing my weightlifting sessions down to about 2 sessions a week. And then I kept in my weekly split session, which I do on a Tuesday usually. I kept that in the rotation, and I added 1 run a week. Just 1. Phase 2, 2 runs a week. Everything else stayed the same. Phase 3, 3 runs a week. Everything else stayed the same. Now, I wasn't keeping track of the times for these things. The way I basically decided when it was time to do more was when I stopped feeling like it was maximum hard. As I felt like I was able to recover a bit better, it started feeling like I was able to do a little bit more. And also as I was starting to increase my running volume, it became more apparent that I needed to have that longer run and then also have something still focusing more on like the speed side of things, because I didn't want to stop doing that. Because initially what I was doing was just hill sprints. And then I started doing longer runs, and I wanted to try and bring some of that speed work back in, even though it's the hardest bit really. It's over fast. And that's the bit that's going to continue to help with the weightlifting. So then I don't know how long I spent in each phase. I was kind of just playing it by ear. What did it feel like? When did I feel ready? If you're doing it for yourself, that's the best rule for you. You just kind of have to feel it out and see what's possible. You don't want to go straight from nothing to 4 runs a week, because you're probably going to hurt yourself. I would have for sure hurt myself. So then we move in to phase 4. At this point, I stopped squatting because it was horrible and everything felt really hard. And I started eating a mini baguette before my gym sessions and also taking pre-workout before my runs. Phase 5, brought weightlifting back up to 3 sessions a week, doing the 3 runs, also doing the split session, made sure to start carrying snacks with me on all of my runs. This really made a big difference, especially as the runs were getting longer. Phase 6, started squatting again. Phase 7, I increased weightlifting to 4 times a week. This is because I started working with a weightlifting coach, which I did for about a 12-week period, and she wrote me 4 sessions a week for the weightlifting. My weightlifting had been going really well despite only doing a few sessions and despite the running coming up. I think by this point I'd PB'd my clean. I think I managed to do a body weight clean around this time, which is crazy. I don't think I could do that right now. Anyways, so then phase 8. I increased my run volume again. I signed up for a 10K race. I got a mild hamstring strain, so I stopped doing the splits for a few weeks. I also managed to get a mild soleus strain in both of my calves, so I stopped running for 3 weeks and spent ages on the cross trainer instead. And I did loads of calf raises and loads of hamstring bridges, and I did sulk a bit. But I made it through rehab. I ran the 10K race. Somehow I managed to PB my time, which I didn't expect. And I didn't hate it. And I didn't get hurt racing generally. I blew my own mind. And then somehow, on top of all of that, I PB'd my back squat. Can you believe it? I did not expect that to happen. So then, huge success. Then I went to Brazil for 3 weeks, like I mentioned at the beginning of the show. So May was basically a write-off. I went to the gym a couple of times while I was away. We went for a couple of short runs while we were away, but nothing meaningful. Maybe like 2 gyms and 1 run a week. So better than nothing. So then phases 1 to 8, that spanned about a year. So that was from April last year up until April this year when I did that race. A whole year of running, which is the first time I've done that in a very long time. So now I'm entering that next phase of this wannabe hybrid journey. I'm in year 2 of being a person who runs consistently. Now, I don't remember the last time I made it to year 2. I really, really hope that I make it to the end of year 2, because I think the thing with running, one of the reasons that despite being 37 now and having spent probably, I don't know, a decade trying to be a person who runs, but never getting very good at the running, is that frequency, consistency thing. Most people who I know who are good at running have been running for years now. And I think the main reason why I'm still not very good at running is because I'll run for a bit and then I'll stop running. And then every time I have to start again from the beginning. So there's this like wall in between me and progress, which is annoying, but it's my own fault. And I know that it's happening. So I made it a whole year. Now we're entering into year 2. And let me tell you, it has been tough getting back into doing stuff, coming back from holiday, trying to get just in the swing of things. Returning to training after time off is brutal. I basically took the first week as a gentle return. I did 1 or 2 really short, like really short runs, 45 minutes on the cross trainer, a couple of really easy weightlifting sessions with no expectations. Week 2 was a couple of harder weightlifting sessions, a couple more kind of easy runs, and a bit more time on the cross trainer, plus some strength accessories focusing on glutes, hamstrings, and calves, because I do not want another strain or tear of any kind. I've learned my lesson, hopefully, and we move. So now, where are we? I've signed up for another 10K race, which is in 8 weeks' time from, I think, yesterday. So my plan between now and then is to do 2 Ollie sessions a week, plus a lower body strength accessory session and at least 2 runs. One of them is going to be like a longish run, building back up to 12K, hopefully. And then the other one's going to be like a shorter, faster run, maybe some intervals, maybe some sprint work, maybe some like 400-meter repeats. I did the lower body accessory session yesterday and I really liked it. I definitely think I can keep that in. Calf raises, step ups, Bulgarian split squats, single leg RDLs, and then time on the cross trainer. Just have to build that aerobic capacity. And it's hard. It's hard. And I know if you're watching this and you're thinking, how do I do all the things? It's hard. It is hard. You just have to figure out where you are and then build back up slowly. And I'm going to come back to how you do that in a second once I finish telling you how I did it. But our journeys, they might not look exactly the same. And look, I doubt I'm going to get another PB race time, having had those 3 weeks off. And I've come home a fair bit heavier than when I left. So like running is a little bit harder than I want it to be, but like it doesn't really matter. The main goal is rebuilding that frequency, that consistency, because the real goal is to be a person who can do all the things without getting hurt too much. That's what we're aiming for. And a person who keeps doing all the things so that when I'm like 60 or whatever, I'm still fit and strong and doing stuff independently, having a lovely time, making the most out of life. And maybe if I'm lucky by then, I'll be an old person who's accumulated some wealth and I can just go and do some nice things. But that feels unlikely, doesn't it, in this day and age? But look at all these old people with their accumulated wealth, and you can't just help to wish that maybe one day you too can accumulate some. There's less I can do about that one. What I can do is make sure I go for runs once in a while and lift some weights once in a while. So at least even if I'm poor when I'm old, I'm still strong enough to go for a walk and put my own suitcase in an overhead compartment on a very low price flight if they still exist. So now, what do you need to know to get into hybrid training for yourself? The thing is, maybe you've gathered, hybrid training is just mixing modalities together, right? And it's going to teach you that strength and fitness goals are not as incompatible as you may have believed. You can do both, and you can still PB your times and PB your lifts without having to pick and choose. You just have to be smart about it. And you need to work out how much you personally can tolerate, not anybody else. You might look at the training programs of these hybrid athletes and try and squeeze yourself into it. And it doesn't always pan out the way you want it to, because a lot of the time these people, they're training way more than is physically possible for you personally. Your training tolerance is going to be based on your body, on your training history, on your life stresses, on whatever else it is that you have to do in a day or in a week. When I was looking at hybrid programs, most of the things that I looked at, they really wanted me to train every day, even like twice a day. And it was unsustainable for me. It was really brutal. And the biggest downside to endurance training in general, and I think one of the main reasons why so many people struggle to build fitness, is because it takes a long time. Like, you can build strength in a much shorter amount of time than it takes to build fitness. It is much easier to get strong than it is to get fit. It takes time, especially if you're slow like me. It means everything takes twice as long. I saw yesterday a man had run 10K in like, what was it? It was like 26 minutes. 10K. That's faster than I can run 5K in. So then if you're a fit, fast person, you can actually get loads and loads of work done in much less time. But if you're slow like me, everything takes a very long time. And that needs to be accounted for. That time on your feet. Someone who's running a marathon in 5 hours, it's going to be much harder for them to build up to that than it is someone who can run a marathon in 3 hours. The time on your feet is considerably more, and that needs to be accounted for, because that's the hardest bit, just getting used to how much you have to do and how much time you have to dedicate to stuff. Which means there's also this element of just accepting what is realistic and what you personally can actually find time for. You have to decide what's important to you and what you're willing to give up to do it. And look, this isn't a holier than thou, rise and grind, get up at 4, go to bed at midnight, whatever, fit all the things in. No. You just need to figure out what really matters to you, because there are only so many hours in the day. And you need to spend some of those hours sleeping and eating and going to work. And that's already most of the hours accounted for. In whatever hours are left, you need to fit everything else in. You need to do, I don't know, your house tasks. You need to see your friends. You need to look after your family or your dogs, whatever. Time is limited. And whatever your responsibilities are, you need to fit them all in. So if you do want to do more cardio or more strength training, you might need to do less of something else to fit it all in. And you're the only person that can figure out what that is, what it is that you're going to have to change, what things you're going to have to move around. I'm definitely not saying start sacrificing sleep or like not hanging out with your kids, because, you know, those things are important too. Just wherever you are, whatever your day looks like, that's for you to figure out. Now, here's where we're going to start. If you have been lifting for a few years and you want to start running, the thing that you need to focus on is building your aerobic capacity. You need to get fitter. That's the hardest bit. So start small, add time on your feet over time. You're probably going to have to scale your lifting sessions back a little bit. So just keep the stuff that feels the most important, so that you've got time and energy to do the other stuff. And then once you've built some aerobic capacity, you've got used to what it feels like to do the running or whatever other cardio it is you're doing, you can probably then bring your strength stuff back up a bit. Now, if it's the other way around, if you're a runner who wants to start lifting, what you need to focus on is building your strength and also building the skill of learning how to lift things. So you might need to scale your runs back a bit so that you've got the time and energy to fit in a couple of those gym sessions. I think it's much easier this way around. Maybe I'm biased because I'm not a runner, but running obviously takes up much more time than lifting does. So fitting a couple of strength sessions in is a lot easier, I think, than lifting. Fitting a couple of runs in, obviously depending on how long you're running for, how fast you're running, etc. But whatever that is, you need to figure it out. That's the thing that you need to focus on to make sure that you aren't just slapping a run program on top of your lifting program, or like slapping a lifting program on top of your running, because you're going to be too tired. It's going to get too hard. You'll probably be able to do it for a bit, but then at some point you're going to hit a wall and it's going to be too much. And that's the moment where injuries start to happen, which was the moment where I strained my calves and my hamstrings. It was just too much. And a lot of the time, injuries happen not because you've done something wrong or because of like weakness or whatever. It's usually like a load management issue for the most part. Sometimes you've just fallen over. But a lot of the time, it's like load management. If you are doing more than the tissue in your body can tolerate for an amount of time before it can't cope anymore, that is the moment that you're going to get hurt. Figuring out how to like not end up there means that you can keep doing stuff for longer. But also just knowing that sometimes you're probably still just going to get hurt, because that's just the nature of trying hard and of being a human, and you don't need to catastrophize it. It's not the end of the world. You just need to figure out how to work around it so that you can keep doing stuff and get on with what you're doing. There's no plan on earth that can promise you an injury-free existence that isn't lying to you. It's not possible. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news. It's not possible. Sometimes shit just happens. But what we're learning is how to minimize it and also how to cope when it does happen. And then you just move on. So like learning how to prioritize your time and your activities, it's the biggest factor to a successful hybrid training program. And it's one that I am obviously still working on for myself. I'm a weightlifter, which means all of my sessions are leg day sessions. But if you want to lift and you want to run and you're not a weightlifter, you can split your gym sessions into lower and upper sessions, which actually makes it a lot easier to plan your runs around it. Because if you are going to double up, running on like an upper body day is going to feel much less disgusting than running after squatting. However, if you have no other choice in the matter and you're running after squatting, you will get used to it eventually. You just need to make sure that you're eating enough food. That was my main takeaway of the last year of trying to run and weightlift. Just eat more food. So, step 1. Build your own custom training plan split for your goals that allows you to gradually increase your fitness capacity. You want to write something that lets you effectively combine strength and endurance workouts. And then, like I just said, you want to make sure that you're eating enough food, specifically carbs. Otherwise, that engine is going to tank and everything's going to feel like hell. And then immediately, everything is horrible. Training isn't fun if you're running on empty. And you are much more likely to keep doing all the things if you can make it feel fun at least some of the time. Step 2 is just getting on with it. Start from where you are, and then when it starts to feel more comfortable, make it harder. Build volume or intensity over time. And that's kind of all there is to it. Obviously, again, I'm not a hybrid athlete expert of any kind. I'm just the person who's trying to do all the things, and I'm just sharing with you how I'm doing it because maybe you can do it too. So if you do start doing all the things, I would love to hear from you. Tell me how you're getting on. If you've got any tips for me, I'd love to hear them too, because like I said, I'm not a runner. I'm just doing my best. And if you're a hypermobile person and you're like, this doesn't sound very safe, but I would actually really be keen to be able to do all the things, hit me up, because I've got space for one-to-one, in-person or remote coaching. And if you're a hypermobile person and you want to be strong and or bendy and or fit and you want to be able to do all the things, I'm your guy. Now, before we go, I wanted to let you all know that Sheffield Pride Deadlift Party is back this year. It's going to be in September. It's going to be in the same venue that we've been in for the last 2 years, but by then it's going to have a different name, but it's the same. It's the same place on Smithfield. S37AR is the postcode. It's Saturday, 27th of September. We're going to have 3 performers again. I'll share all the details in the show notes for you. You can sign up now. We're raising money this year for Sheffield Palestine Cultural Exchange. And if you've not come before, it's an afternoon of deadlifts, kind of set up like a deadlift meet, like a powerlifting meet. But there are no gender categories, no weight categories, really no winners and losers, just good vibes, having a lovely day. People are all going to get 3 goes to lift for their best deadlift. Maybe you're going to PB on the platform. People often do. And in between, we're going to have these drag performers. There's also going to be a raffle. So if you want to give me anything for the raffle, please do let me know. So you can sign up now. I'll put the link in the show notes for that. I'll also put the link to donate. The last couple of years that we've done it, we managed to raise over $3,000 for the charities that we were supporting. So it'll be really, really cool if we manage to do that again this year. I would love that. Please tell your friends. Please sign up. That's probably all the things. It's nice to be back. I'm going to try and get back into a regular routine with my podcasting because it is fun. I love to hear what you guys think about things, sharing my thoughts, sharing some interviews. If there are any topics you want me to cover, let me know. I'd be into it. Until next time, see you later.